4 years of blood, sweat, tears, dedication, all the emotions in the book. That's what goes into a career in any sport. And today we're talking about basketball. Lynchburg and Averett getting set to tip off at the top of the hour or shortly thereafter once the senior day festivities finish up down on the court. We will showcase all of that for you back at home. But until we get to that point, we'll preview the final regular season game of the 2023-24 campaign. Sam Graham alongside Evan Gates for a jam-packed day of basketball, a jam-packed day of sports as the spring sports season, crossover season, fully underway. Lacrosse, equestrian, softball, you name it, it's all going on today. But we are going to focus on the hardwood, Lynchburg and Averett. A couple of teams, Evan, that coming into today, they've been struggling a little bit. Lynchburg, 7-game skid. For Averett, the streak is 9. Two teams that really want to get over the hump today. Lynchburg, I would think, in particular, as they have their sights set on the ODAC tournament next week.
Well, something's got to give, Sam. You have two teams trending in that direction, and we know Lynchburg coming off a Code Red contest against Washington and Lee that was just a dagger when you're playing some really good talent. We'll take a look at some of the pregame stats, too, and it's an interesting setup coming into this game because we know two very contrasting styles. Lynchburg, a squad that is very good in transition. They're going to get points. They want to really rack up the scoreline, whereas Averett is going to try and slow them down. But we talk about this throughout the entire season. If you're trying to pull an upset, you have to make sure you control your turnovers. We know Averett would love to just end the year on a high note despite not making the ODAC tournament.
Yeah, and we won't for a second overlook some of the results of Averett's season. Obviously, it's been one of trial and tribulation. 4-20 coming into today, but this is a team that went toe-to-toe with a very, very good Guilford team, top 10 in the country and one of the premier teams in this league. And this is an Averett program that knows what success is like. They're young right now, a couple graduating, upperclassmen that are very good and have led them, but a lot of really young talent that they'll look forward in the next several years. Maybe, end them on a high note. The ODAC tournament is out of the picture now, so maybe you can just play loose and try to play spoiler today.
Well, for sure, and we know that senior night here in the building at Turner Gymnasium just a few seconds from getting underway, and that adds a little bit of emotion too. We talked about some of the players that have been with this program for so long. Averett had their senior day. Just special to be in attendance for this event tonight.
Averett, their senior night 2 nights ago. Then they've gotten back-to-back dates with Hornets. It was Shenandoah a week ago, last Saturday, and then they wrap up the regular season with Lynchburg today. These two teams did meet earlier in the season. This will be the second and final meeting, but for right now, we will take you down to the court and our PA announcer, Kyle Haney, for the senior day festivities. And there you have it, a large graduating class for this Lynchburg team, a group of gentlemen that have certainly given their all for this university and this program. It'll certainly be an emotional day on the court tonight, and we will have tip-off on the other side of this break.
Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein. Football has taught me a lot throughout my life. It's definitely had a huge imprint on who I am as a person. Competing at a Division III level created that opportunity for me to go to college. Not only was I the first one in my family to graduate college, but I was really the first one to even go. Being the first one, I'm breaking that cycle, and now that I've graduated, I'm not sure what's the next step, but I know I have a lot of doors open. And a lot of those are open because I played football and ran track here at Otterbein.
Final day of the regular season. We'll certainly be keeping up with a couple of results from around, well, what do they say, in the association. We'll say the Old Dominion Athletic Conference, because there are certainly some games of consequence today, both for Lynchburg and just for the league as a whole. Very interesting one, Washington and Lee and Randolph-Macon facing off today. Macon, one of the top teams in the conference, and Washington and Lee, a team Lynchburg saw a couple of days ago. They are surging at the right time. As for Lynchburg and Averett, they are announcing the starting five down below us, and Evan will take this moment to just give our last thoughts before we actually put pen to paper, as they say, and get this game underway.
Well, we know that this is a game that, as we talked about, emotions are going to be riding high, and I think Lynchburg, despite losing 7 straight, has had a very good aura in the building, and we've seen this throughout the season. The question is, can they come out and play 2 halves of basketball? We know that this is an Averett squad who really just wants to come in and try to play spoiler in this final contest. Think about Lynchburg. We've talked about this throughout the season. No one averaging double figures right now. They have 7 players with 5 or more points per game, coming in with 7 straight losses. Who wants to be that star today? And you got 5 seniors in the starting lineup. I think it's just going to be a really great jump start to try and get out to that hot run.
And there's a number of guys that can fill that role for Lynchburg, and a number of guys that have done it for extended periods. At one time, it was DeAndre Ross, and another Miles Taylor. And you look down the roster on the offensive side in particular, you know, guys like Jason Easton, Trey Gillenwater, Jordan Parham, guys that have had these big games, you know, in singles or doubles. But who's going to put it together and really surge here at the end of the year? You'd probably expect it to be Miles Taylor or DeAndre Ross. Ross maybe, you know, just trying to work through his confidence lately. Played a really good defensive game in the midweek action against Washington and Lee. Not his best day offensively, but actually gave some really, really good minutes for this team and helped Lynchburg stay around with what he did on the defensive end. Lynchburg certainly will want to focus on the defensive end today. But I think it really will start on offense. Lynchburg needs a big offensive day. On the 7-game losing streak, they have failed to score more than 63 points in any of those games. And this is an Averett team, a lot by nature of the pace of play that they go to. They can limit you on the offensive side. I think Lynchburg, when you talk about confidence, you know, they may need an 80 ball or a 90 ball tonight. Get these fans on their feet. It's another packed house. Shout out to the fans. Done a really good job showing out for this team all year long. And like we said, last couple games, Evan, you know, I think you got to keep it in perspective, right? It's a Lynchburg team that a year ago won 6 games. You've now won 10. If you can finish with a win to the regular season, you go into the postseason with a winning streak. You've won 5 more games than you did last year. You won as many games in the ODAC as you did regular season games last year. I think that's a lot to build on going into that second season.
Certainly in striking distance. We know that they have secured that spot in the ODAC tournament. Now it's just about going out, and as you said, putting an emphatic finish to the regular season.
So here we go, starters on the floor for Averett. It is Graves, Lewis, Sellers. Getting a start from Furman, Borbua, Watson. And the final man rounding it out will be Bryce Shaw for Lynchburg. Like you said, Evan, an all-senior lineup. In the home Grays, Jordan Parham, Landon Sutton, Miles Taylor, Kevon James, and the Vanilla Gorilla, Matt Johnson, holding it down at the 5. That is who is on the floor for Coach Scott's squad, and we get off and rolling on the final day of the regular season.
Lots of ball movement early. Expect lots of flex screens off the ball for Averett. They're a squad that wants to pass quick but slow down the shot clock.
A shot that Lynchburg's probably happy to see their opponents take. Close defense from Jordan Parham, and off the back of the rim from Jamison Graves allows Lynchburg to set up its half-court offense for the first time.
Talked about Matt Johnson, the tallest guy on this team. Expect him to get some looks down low early.
Gets one right there, and just a little too strong coming in late there was Borbua Watson. Might have altered that shot a bit from Matt Johnson. That's a tall matchup, one that you don't often see at the D3 level. Two guys over 6'7" frames going back and forth.
Especially if you're Lynchburg. This is a squad that plays small ball lots of the season, just trying to get that transition offense.
Matt Johnson, a guy, will stay on him. You know, he's got a little bit of range. He's not afraid to line up a 3 here and there. He and Mason McCovic, a couple of big guys for this Lynchburg team, not afraid to let it fly. Jump ball called early. I dare say Lynchburg might be leading the ODAC conference in jump balls. It's a good credit to their hustle. And this time possession arrow points their way. Averett controlled the opening tip. So we're still looking for our first points, 1:03 into this ball game. But Lynchburg, offensive set number 2, Landon Sutton, the senior out of High Point. High Point Christian Academy is where he spent his high school days. Looking for the assist. There's the 3 ball. Matt Johnson, center, cut, knocks it down, and the crowd goes crazy.
You can tell Averett's showing some respect to that 3-point line, picking him up right at half court. Matt Johnson says, hey, I am wide open. I'm going to make it happen.
Averett looking to respond. Lewis, top, leads this Averett team in scoring, dynamic guard. Near side, Sellers puts it on the floor. Sellers reverses trajectory. Johnson alters the shot. Lynchburg will run. Dangerous situation for the Averett defense. Dribble handoff, Taylor to Sutton, and Sutton slows it down.
Saw Sellers on that possession going baseline. It's just about knowing your spot under the basket.
Johnson, again, nearly. I think the roof would have come off. Big time rebound from Kevon James. Sutton gonna try a 3. Lines it up. He's off the mark a little too strong. And Averett gets out of the possession unscathed. 2 good looks there for Lynchburg. And Matt Johnson about sent this crowd into a frenzy.
Well, if you're unfamiliar with this Hornet squad, too, they've shot 50 more three-pointers this season than the Cougars, and you know they're going to rely on their three-point shooting. Question is today, do they get those open looks? We saw it a lot against W&L where they had them, but sometimes forcing them. You know, Lynchburg, when they're open, you saw Matt Johnson, the tallest guy on the floor. He can knock them down, too. Anybody's comfortable.
Jim Lowrance checks in for Averett. Did not appear against Shenandoah. He's going to shake off the rust and get some early minutes tonight against the ODAC's second pair of Hornets. They go to Lowrance. Forced to pass out and a reset with 9 on the shot clock. Good defense from James. Open look for 3. A little late on the closeout off the switch was Matt Johnson. And knocking it down from the top of the key is Bryce Shaw.
Played good defense pretty much that entire possession. Just that last little slip, Shaw's able to get the bucket off. Those are baskets you see at the end of the game can make an impact.
Taylor puts the ball on the ground but whistled for the offensive foul, the game's first of the day. Taylor's going to get tagged with his first personal, and the Averett bench and the contingent from Danville, Virginia liked the call there. Not too bad of a trip. Right up 29, just over an hour. This is a homegrown team that Averett sports. 2 of their players, both first years, come from Danville, Virginia, but all but 1 player on this team from either Virginia or North Carolina. And you might think the lone exception is, oh, I don't know, maybe Maryland, Tennessee. You'd be way off. Panama City, Panama is where Borbua Watson hails from, number 44, tidying up this roster with a little bit of diversity. Coming back the other way, Averett playing a little up-tempo. A shot with just 5 seconds off the shot clock, and the late foul comes in on the three. Hitting the deck after releasing it was Lowrance, and he will shoot a trio of free throws. 2
quick ones for Miles Taylor, 1 offensive, 1 defensive, and that's a foul you don't like if you're Coach Scott. Just a little too late on the closeout. Obviously, Taylor not super happy with it. Wilson, Lowrance to the line for 3. Interesting combination right now as well. We've talked about some of the seniors on Averett's squad. Jordan Lewis, we've said his name a few times. Kevon James for Lynchburg. They were actually high school teammates at Frank W. Cox, and it's not every day you get that in your senior day. We saw during the festivities in the beginning. They got a quick picture. O'Connor checks back in alongside Alex Fitch for Lynchburg. DeMarcus Tucker checks in for Averett, and immediately O'Connor comes up with a steal, and Lynchburg moving the other way. James, an open look. In and out. That's the kind of season it's been for a guy we know can shoot it from 3. A good three-point shooter for his career. Just had a lot of those rim out throughout this season. Back the other way comes Averett. Jump, release, and a nice little cut to the basket from Shaw. Puts the road team up by a pair. 5-3 with 4 minutes off the clock. Sutton shakes his man, dishes it off though. O'Connor gets trapped under the basket, stays with it, and comes up with the fall away touch shot. That's experience from the grad student. He got the ball under the bucket, just took a quick dribble, trying to position in the right spot. Good luck from Sutton as well. I think Sutton expected to be that open. He's able to shake off his man pretty well. Thinking about the 3, now we'll let it go is Shaw. He has all 5 of Averett's points. And then James just did not know that Lewis was coming up behind him. It's an easy steal for the Cougars. Averett spreading things out, getting a lot of perimeter touches. We've seen a few opportunities for Shaw to drive this time. It's Lewis who loses it. Lynchburg's going to take over. Lewis, that senior you referenced, out of Frank Cox High School, Virginia Beach native. 12 points, 4.5 rebounds per game in his senior season. 80th straight start for Averett today. Talk about seasoned veterans on a team with, it's made up pretty much half of freshmen. Reminiscent of last year's Lynchburg women's team. Lewis brings a lot of experience. How about Jordan Parham? He spots up and knocks down the 3. Both teams having a little bit of trouble taking the lid off the basket early on, but maybe that deep one from Parham will go a long way in helping that. JP can throw you the kitchen sink when he's turned on. We've seen him throughout this season make a few big impacts. 28 points versus Hampton-Sydney when the lights were brightest. O'Connor pokes the ball away for the second time. Takes it from the ball handler from Averett. Sutton, Parham, 3. Just off the mark. Make that 3 shots for Lynchburg that would have sent this place bananas that have just been off the mark. Averett doing well to stay right in this game early on. Tap out, good job O'Connor. The placement right into the breadbasket of James. James now the trailer for Sutton. Fitch, he lines one up. He can knock him down, but he's off the mark. Bit of a cold start here for Lynchburg. Maybe trying to shake off the remnants of that second half against Washington and Lee. We've seen a few good looks from this Lynchburg offense. There's a good one from Shaw once again, but this was the Lynchburg team that went, I think, 9 for 40 in that second half from field goal range. So obviously, it's not only just getting the ball in the bucket, but also those good opportunities. This time James puts it on the floor, finishes through the contact. That's 2 + 1 = 3. Kevon James, strong to the basket, earns himself a trip to the line. Strong take from the senior. We've seen it a few times today. Kevon James looking comfortable. Lynchburg up 3 going into the break.
Living the dream. USA, Mexico. That was so exciting.
Lynchburg is all about you, your ideas, and your goals. We've got one professor for every 10 students, so you can get all the support you need. In the classroom, in the lab, or in nature. You'll learn by putting yourself out there, and we're right there with you.
That's the way, I like it. Kevon James has Lynchburg liking it up by 3, and he will be at the line as we come back out to the court. A lengthy discussion in the Lynchburg huddle. Might be trying to figure out what to do with number 11, Shaw, on the other side. All 7 of Averett's points in the early going.
And he's averaging 30 minutes a game. He's been solid throughout the season for Averett. You know, we talked about Lynchburg earlier having a really spread out bench. They don't have 1 or 2 main contributors. It's really by committee. Well, Averett, if they can have those contributions from players like Shaw, Sellers, and Lewis, they're going to hang in this game with Lynchburg.
James was not able to get that first three-point attempt to fall, but he finds 3 the old-fashioned way. Matches his jersey number in the box score, and Lynchburg has its largest lead of the afternoon at 4. More typical lineup out there now for Lynchburg as they get Jake Hart on the floor, the freshman leading the way in minutes for Lynchburg, as Sellers is the first Cougar not named Bryce Shaw to reach the scoreboard.
That's a chance you take, too, having that smaller lineup. You get the switch. Sellers had a nice matchup. So he gets the rebound on the other end.
Parham takes that one with close defense given by Isaiah Ramazani. And a foul far away from the basket goes against Lynchburg. Will go against Jake Hart, so he checks in just a few seconds ago and picks up the first foul of the day. But back to Bryce Shaw, you know, this is a guy having a really successful season this year. You know, last year only averaged 4 points, 3 rebounds. He's bumped that up to 10 and 5 in this year's campaign. So certainly something for Averett to build off of.
And we know this is a team that is somewhat new to the ODAC, playing lots of time in the USA South. And so getting these reps against teams who are in the top 5 right now, always going to make you a better player.
Sellers goes back-to-back on the offensive end. Shaw, a guy that when you look to next year, obviously a youth-laden team, but he could be the go-to guy with Price and Sellers hitting the road. Parham, another 3. He's got 2. You caught him the kitchen sink. Don't leave that sink running because it'll overflow in a hurry.
Feet set, hands up, and an easy release. Parham looks so pretty when he can get those shots off, especially when you leave him alone. You got to be careful if you're Averett, especially with that corner. We've seen a few open chances.
Capable scorer a season ago, but you can tell by the release, as you mentioned, Evan, he's been in the gym working on that shot. It looks as good as it ever has. And when he's had the opportunity to prove himself he has. Lynchburg forces another turnover and will head the other way. When it's starting to stack up these offensive possessions, they got off about 20 more shots than Washington Lee did on Wednesday night. They're trending that way at the moment, but they give one up before getting a shot off. How about Sellers, the big man playing the primary ball handler role? He dishes it off to Jamison Graves, who finishes in close. Averett hanging blow for blow with the Hornets on senior day.
Smart by Hart, too, as well, not to give a foul there. That would have been a cheap one, maybe an and-one opportunity. Just let Averett get the deuce.
Off the dribble goes Parham, almost got the wrap and the bounce back in, and then Hart trying to tap it in, just misjudged a bit. A quick possession there for Lynchburg, but they're okay with that. It's Averett that you got to watch, as they like to let the shot clock dwindle down a bit. We'll notice about 11:15 left in this first half. Jonathan Faust has not come into the game yet. He is at the scorer's table, along with Pearson Young and DeAndre Ross. So they'll get to come in now, but Lynchburg made it 9 minutes without 3 of their best offensive players, and in the case of Faust and Young, their 2 best defensive players. They still have the lead on Averett.
You wonder, too, if Coach Scott is just getting a little extended rest coming out of that last game versus WNL, because if Lynchburg is playing in that first round, which is pretty much certain at this point, it's going to be a Monday contest, and so we know that there's not much time to turn around, but obviously have to handle business here against Averett.
Many teams will look to start to tighten their rotation up as the season gets down to it, really when you look at every level, high school up to the NBA. For Lynchburg, though, I think you do make a good point with that quick turnaround, especially if you can play most of the way with a lead as they have so far, you're okay getting a lot of bodies in there. Lynchburg has a lot of serviceable players. Faust puts it on the ground on the second opportunity off the offensive rebound. Now Ross able to corral, but Averett's defense making Lynchburg earn every dribble here. Off the dribble, step back, back of the net goes Alex Fitch. He's on the board. Haven't seen much of him lately, but Lynchburg will certainly appreciate whatever contribution he can get him today.
Oh, he's one of the best shooters on this team, and when he can get open like that, so good off the dribble. We think about Dre Ross, too, one of those players who's just quick with his moves, and that's an opportunity for Lynchburg to really exploit some matchups.
They go down low to Sellers, who faces the double team. The kick out, Sellers to Graves for the second time in as many possessions. It's less effective there. A strong battle. Sellers, tough player, just does not give up on it. But this time Lynchburg had too many bodies in the area, and Faust was not looking for Alex Fitch's entry pass.
That's just a frustration foul, too, from Fitch, as we've talked about, a little long ways from home. But was good hustle on both sides. Offensive rebounds for Averett. You'd almost expect Lynchburg to be the team grabbing them, and they have had lots of success. Last game against WNL, more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds. I don't think you see that many times in a D3 season.
No, and again, Evan, it makes sense when you take about, 24 more shots than your opponent does. You got to get there some ways, and WNL didn't turn it over a lot. So, yeah, those offensive rebounds were huge, and those can come in a variety of ways. The tap outs, the putbacks. Jonathan Faust had quite a few. We'll see if those stack up again today. Here's another turnover as Sellers was trying to tightrope that right side baseline. Unable to do so. Faust screens him off from any help. He just goes over the inline.
This is really the first time today that we see both lineups, we'll say at full strength, some of those starters we're accustomed to seeing, and this is going to be a big matchup between Lewis and Hart. Who delivers first? We know they're both very talented at helping their teams out.
Typical lineup on the floor here for Lynchburg. Just Alex Fitch out there instead of Cam O'Connor. Here's DeAndre Ross, spot up three, in and out. Big time rebound from the freshman. Jake Hart keeps it going. Try again. DeAndre Ross instead puts it on the floor. Tries to reward Hart for his efforts. Good ball movement instead here for Lynchburg as they stay patient. Young to the cup, to the finish. Pearson Young, another deuce for Lynchburg, who leads by 5. Averett quickly in transition, and they take advantage of Lynchburg unable to get back. Some frustration between Young and Faust after letting up that easy 2.
Well, we saw some San Antonio Spurs offense on Lynchburg's side who wanted to shoot it, and then Averett just a really quick run and gun possession. We've seen that a few times. Lynchburg's a team that likes to run, but they've also got burnt a couple times down the court. We'll keep our eye on that battle throughout the game.
Off the foot goes Pearson Young, and that'll be Averett basketball. Yeah, Evan, that's something in this sort of modern era of basketball. Lots of teams are looking to do that these days. It's a little bit strange for Averett, who likes to operate out of the half court, but a lot of teams coming off a make, if they sense any sense of complacency and you're getting back on defense, they'll go ahead and push in transition. You see some sort of unorthodox transition points in the game today.
Well, it's a team in Lynchburg that likes to shoot the 3-ball too, and those long rebounds sometimes help other teams to get out.
A lot of confusion there. Pearson Young ultimately comes down with it, and we might have had the cameras out. The flashes coming out there. Jonathan Faust and DeAndre Ross might have been looking for the off-the-backboard alley-oop, but instead, Pearson Young fouled before he got to mid-court to stay Lynchburg ball.
Both those guys coming back next year, and we've seen a few moments here and there. Dre Ross had a big dunk earlier in the season, but you have to expect, you stick around this Lynchburg men's basketball team, you're going to see a highlight sooner or later.
Deep one from Fitch goes in and out. Lynchburg going back to its old ways of sorts, taking quite a few. That's the 13th 3-ball of the afternoon. We still have just about 8 minutes left in this first half. 3 Hornets in the area to corral the defensive rebound, and then giving it away again goes Jake Hart. Rare mistake from him, and then Shaw might have made that a little bit more difficult than it needed to be. Now Lynchburg can push. Ross sizes up. He's got the size advantage, trying to exploit it. He gets there, and another and one opportunity. Have yourself a basket there, DeAndre Ross.
That's a big swing too. Cougars had a chance to really make it tough on the Hornets, but Dre Ross gets out in one opportunity. We've seen that a lot this season. When he gets downhill, he's one of the toughest to stop in the conference.
Now Ross goes to the line. He'll look to finish off the three-point play. A little bit of trouble at the free throw line that you maybe wouldn't quite expect from a guy that's as capable on the offensive end as Dre Ross. He shoots just 49% at the line on the year. Off on that one, but Jonathan Faust was ready to corral it. Back to Ross. Step back through the legs. Pearson Young, an offensive rebound. Lynchburg playing with a lot of heart, and Jake Hart giving it back where he got it.
Mr. Heart and Soul, he makes it look easy when he's open. Third chance opportunity for the Hornets, and they really made sure they were taking advantage.
Hornets fighting for it on every possession here. Looks like a team that's trying to make a good push into the ODAC tournament, and a travel called against the veteran for Averett. Lewis gets hit with extra steps, and now down by 5. Averett heads to the huddle for our second media timeout.
Today's a rough day. Jess and I are officially on a break. The couple canoe has broken up.
How you feeling?
Living the dream.
Just canoeing. That's the Mexican side behind me. The U.S. is that way.
So far, we're all still alive.
I really want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Woo! We did it! Kind of.
Look what
Score correction on that call going into break. It's an 8-point lead for Lynchburg. I think we were just a little bit late with that 3 from Jake Hart. He's credited for it now. And Lynchburg up by 8, its largest advantage of the day, with 6:48 to go in the first half.
Closing out these final 6 or 7 minutes is so crucial for Lynchburg. Saw coming out of the break versus the Generals really struggled. Can they come and put an exclamation on this first half?
Ross faked to his left, went to his right, but was met at the rim nicely. However, Averett the last to touch it, so we'll stay on this end of the court. A little confusion in who Lynchburg was going to send to inbound it. Jake Hart donning that headband once again. Hair's gotten a little long there for Jake.
It's normally a road look.
Yeah.
Almost.
Hart has it now. Freshman directs traffic. Though most coaches will tell you by this point in the season they really don't view their freshmen as freshmen anymore. Jason Easton, quick release. That catches the front end of the iron and bounces out. 16th three-point attempt of the game there for Lynchburg. Style of play we haven't seen them resort to much as of late.
And just 2 free throw attempts thus far. We saw that really serve a problem in that last game. They conceded 29 free throws to Washington and Lee. That's really how they slowed down the game.
Not afraid to play a little faster against this Averett team, try to get them out of their comfort zone. But Averett hanging in there right now, down by just 6, 23-17 your score from Turner Gymnasium in the Hill City. Hart dribbles around the arc. Easton dishes off underhand to Faust. He makes his living down low in the paint. And Jonathan Faust, who had 10 paint points against Washington and Lee, he's got his first 2 tonight.
He's a guy who's so crucial for this squad, especially going into the postseason. He's so good in the paint offensively, but we've seen his perimeter defense and his length that allows him to really be an asset.
Guy who's came in touted for his rebounding and defensive ability, and that was certainly as advertised, but we have seen him grow before our eyes on the offensive end of the floor and really become a go-to option for this Lynchburg team at times.
Well, and interesting enough, too, we've talked about rebounding throughout the year. He leads the team with 4.5 per game. You heard that right. 4.5 is leading this Hornets team, but there are 5 or 6 guys who are really capable of making that impact on the stat sheet. That's something that Coach Scott, going into the season, he said we have to make sure we have numbers, especially in games where we're trying to hang tough with really good opponents.
Well, you've heard rebounding by committee. This might be rebounding by the whole PTA.
Get the village.
Everybody's out there trying to bring down a board for Coach Scott. And that's something they emphasize, honor the Boardman Champion of the Week every week for who corrals the most rebounds in practice. It's almost always somebody different. How about burying that 3, 5-on-5 crime? Lewis in the face of Landon. Sutton buries it.
Well, I'll tell you, Sam, you can't get a rebound when the ball goes through the bucket, and we've seen Lewis do it a lot this season. If he can get turned on going into the second half, it's going to be a long way home for Lynchburg.
Makovic catches that ball and looks to score. Credit to Sutton feeding that ball into him high where the defender could not get to it, so that at least Makovic was able to get the shot off and head to the line where he will shoot 2. And just the 3rd and 4th free throw attempts of the game coming here for Lynchburg.
Have to make them count, too, because we've seen throughout the season, if you're going to slow down the game, this is something that isn't really within the Hornet style. They like to run and gun. We've talked about it, but this is opportunities that are free ones, and a lot of other teams in the ODAC are doing a really good job of taking advantage of it.
Kovic comes in right about 50% at the line on the year, but he was true on the first. Second one up, front and out. 1 of 2 once again. Average holds true. Lynchburg lead holds at 6.
Something that's a good sign for Lynchburg in this contest, too. Averett's a squad that also shoots 65% from the line, as do the Hornets, and so if you can take advantage of that, might help them down the way.
Shedding off some contact there was Shaw. A little bit of confusion there. Shaw was rightly happy with the basket he just made as he kind of fought through a pair of defenders, and he's already just about at double figures. He has 9 of Averett's 22 points. He's looked crisp early on in this game. We're used to Lewis being the go-to guy on offense for the Cougars, and if not Lewis, then Sellers. So far, it has been Shaw, who, as we mentioned earlier, about doubled his averages from a season ago when you talk about points and rebounds. He and Sellers, a formidable duo down low. Meanwhile, foul on the other side will send Landon Sutton to the line. So after resorting to the 3, not putting the ball in harm's way as far as the paint goes early on in this game, Lynchburg's gone there on back-to-back possessions. First one rattles out, and that'll send Trey Gillenwater into the game and Pearson Young to the bench.
Talked about Averett these last few possessions. Bench starting to get very vocal. You can tell it's going to be a big swing. Sutton misses the second one. Averett's got a chance to make it a one-possession ball game.
An uncharacteristic there from Sutton, better than 70% on his career to miss 2 of 2 at the line. Averett's got to take advantage here, trailing by just 4. Shaw, the go-to guy, dumps off to Sellers. Sellers against Makovic, goes to his left shoulder. He's fouled before he can get a shot off. That will be only the 5th against Lynchburg, so 2 away from the bonus still. Neither team there just yet, with under 4 minutes to go in the first half.
You can tell they're trying to isolate Sellers down low with Makovic, see if they can get that matchup. Now he's got Sutton down low.
Great screen from Sellers, and he has rewarded the give and go as he rolls to the basket. Pick and roll, I should say. And Sellers picks up another pair. He'll go to the line to look to add one more. As he had Sutton flattened on the screen, and Sutton did not follow the big man on his roll to the basket.
This guy's so talented down low, too. We've seen it throughout this season in that starting role where he's really just able to find his spot down low. So much more than what meets the eye, especially in basketball, because you have to understand it's all about getting there before the play develops and making sure that you make it count.
Lane violation went against Lynchburg there. I believe that was called against Jason Easton. So Sellers will get another opportunity after missing the free throw a moment ago. A unique release there. It's no good on either of them. As Makovic hauls it down, and Lynchburg goes back to it on offense, holding just a 2-point lead. Feels like a big possession here Averett forces the trap far out. Quarterback-like pass for Sutton to get out of trouble and find Makovic down low.
Big man, Mason Makovic. He can do a little bit of everything. And we saw Parham was open in the corner. Makovic said, I'm going to take this one. Great confidence down low to at least draw contact if he didn't get it.
Makovic, a good passer as well, but also a strong basketball IQ, knows when to just take the shot himself. He and Sellers been going back and forth the last couple possessions. But Lewis, Jordan Lewis starting to get things going on the offensive side. 12-point per game scores, knocked down 2 triples. Easton puts it on the floor, and we've seen him taking 2-point attempts at a record clip for himself. Took more 2s than 3s, I believe, for the first time all season against Washington and Lee.
Sometimes that's what percentages do too. You see, trying to scout what Easton can do from beyond the perimeter. You pay so much attention to that sometimes the lane's going to open up. He's going to have those new looks.
And a good frame for Easton. He's able to absorb a little bit of contact down low if it comes. One and done for Averett. Gillenwater the rebound. Lynchburg will push. Easton sizes up his defender, goes left against Andrew. Nick Andrew whistled for the foul.
This will be the bonus for Lynchburg too, so Easton a chance for 1-and-1s, and talked about the bonus being so crucial. You got 2 minutes left, but maybe you get multiple opportunities at the line. Now it's just about if Easton can put them in.
Lynchburg starting to rack up a bit of a differential against their counterparts at the line. This is their 7th, as Easton now earns an 8th free throw attempt, but it's only Lynchburg's 3rd make. Averett's gone just once. That was Sellers' trip just a moment ago. Obviously our 0 for 1.
Easton, a guy who is a very formidable shooter for this squad, and early in the season, a few struggles. We were really trying to figure out what his season was going to look like, but boy, has he rebounded big time since. 40% from three-point range, and it just seems like in big games, especially against Guilford earlier this year where he had 5 three-pointers, he can just find his spot.
That Guilford game really seemed to get him going. Sometimes when those shooters can get in the zone, there's just not a lot of defense can do to slow them down, and Easton is one of those pure shooters. One-on-one again, Sellers and Makovic. Here comes the help defense from Easton. Good defensive possession here for Lynchburg. Doing a good job rotating and staying in front. Sticking with man defense. A little bit of space created by Lewis to get away from Sutton. And then Easton plays the angle to get the rebound and immediately throws it back to Sellers. Lynchburg bailed out at the end of it all as dribbling out of bounds there when Averett's number 34, Terrell Fitzgerald, first time we've called his name this afternoon.
Well, with Easton going out of bounds too, it is so dangerous to throw the ball just right back into action. Maybe try to get it off the Averett defender, but Lynchburg still comes away with it.
Lynchburg starting to get away from the 3-ball a little bit. Coach Scott calling for a foul on that last attempt from Sutton. But Averett, they don't want to hear it. Make the Hornets pay. Coming down on the other side. And Averett's number 3, Clay Hodges, puts in a triple. And with 1:21, it is a 1-possession game. 2 points the lead here for Lynchburg. We'll stay right here. So we just don't have too much time before we hit the half from the Hill City. Evan, so obviously Lynchburg started out heavy reliance on the 3-ball, got out to a strong start, cooled off a little bit, and then coming out of that second media timeout, looks like they've started to put the ball on the floor a little bit more and try to get to the rack.
Well, you have to understand the assignment, and it's going to shift so many times throughout a ball game. 4 for 16 from three-point range right now, and they're certainly capable of making them down the stretch, but you have to at least present that threat to Averett and let them know you're not afraid to go to the hoop. But again, when you get in the bonus, you got to take advantage because teams aren't afraid to foul if you're not going to make the freebies.
Averett got a strong contribution from Bryce Shaw. He scored the first 7 points for his ball club. It's 9 for the game to lead the way, but Lynchburg has done well to cool him off a little bit over the last several possessions. He's gone just about the whole way in this first half. Leads all players on the floor in minutes with 16. Averett, a team that when you talk about Shaw, Sellers, and Lewis, those main 3 guys, they're not afraid to spend some serious time out on the court Lewis as recently as that game last weekend against Shenandoah, going all 40 minutes. Easton a battle for the rebound against Fitzgerald. It is last touched by Easton. Averett has an opportunity to tie or take the lead. They faced some adversity early on in this first half, but credit to the visitors sticking around, trying to spoil things a little bit on senior day for Lynchburg.
Well, and let's go back to that minutes point too, because I think we've seen a lot of consistency in this lineup. There are 12 guys averaging 10 or more minutes for Averett. That's a lot like Lynchburg, but we've seen what guys like Bryce Shaw can do in the lineup at the right time, everything but the bucket.
Shaw does well as he puts it on the floor. Now it's a 5-on-3 break. Easton strong to the basket, finishes through contact. This time it's a blocking foul, and Lynchburg continues to put its head down, get to the basket strong. The third and one opportunity of the game for the boys in gray.
Nifty decision to try and draw the charge for Clay Hodges, but just a little too close to the circle. That's going to really hurt Averett now. Lynchburg a chance to go up 5 and have a strong defensive possession to close out the first half.
22 seconds left, and another good free throw shooter in Jason Easton off on that try. Lynchburg's got a platoon over at the scorers table. Would be surprised if they're able to check back in for the first half, but Lynchburg, Coach Scott maybe trying to get some offense out there if he gets an opportunity. Averett trying to take it all the way down, and they do. Essentially a last-second shot. That one from Parham will not count even if it goes. So Lynchburg just a 2-point lead. Credit to Sellers getting to the basket not once but twice. Gets there on the follow-through, and Averett comes out with the last 2 points of the first half to stick right in this one. We will hit the break as well. We'll be back in just a few moments to break down everything we saw in the first half, take a look around the ODAC and Lynchburg sports, and maybe even talk a little women's hoops because we got a doubleheader on LHSN.
You're missing.
Private education is too expensive? Think again. At the University of Lynchburg, you can get a personalized education for the cost of a state school. If you're commuting and you get our top scholarships, you could pay much less. And you get all that without the hassle of giant lecture halls. Our faculty know your name here and do more than just teach. You might even do research together and plan out your next career moves.
My name is Alexis Fabula. I major in criminology and I double minor in psychology and criminal forensics. My favorite part about Lynchburg is the friends that I've come to have. It's helped me come out of my shell more, and it's helped me become the person I am and the student I am. I really enjoyed how small the campus was, and I also really enjoy how small the class sizes are. It made me feel like I was going to be more engaged than I would at a bigger campus. If someone was on the fence of coming to the University of Lynchburg, I would definitely love to sit down and have a conversation with them, because I'm forever grateful that I made this choice. It's definitely something that a student wouldn't regret. Out of my 4 years here, I've not had one bad experience. I've had a great 4 years, and I'm going to be very sad to go.
Tim Slusser from the Outdoor Leadership Program gave a presentation at a Teaching and Learning Resources conference here about getting his program more involved on the academic side of campus. I mentioned computers and mapping, and he mentioned caving, and eventually we came up with the idea of mapping caves.
So the week before, we were able to learn how to use the instruments kind of like on a flat surface and just kind of get a hang of how they work. But it was really amazing how once we got in the cave, it was a completely different experience using them.
It was unique. It got most of us out of our comfort zone, kind of gave us a new experience, a new taste of something new. But I think the most difficult parts were getting the lighting right. You had to read the instruments with the headlamps while keeping your eye pointed on the plot point.
This allowed them to actually literally get their hands dirty, collecting data, conducting measurements, and putting all that together in the form of a map, and doing it in a place that's never been mapped before.
If I'm walking around over on the crowd side, I always hear someone yelling, "Hey Nat, take our picture. Hey Nat, get this," or something, or "Hey Nat, you got that shot?" Like, so I'm always like trying to photograph the crowds and my friends calling my name. I think sports at Lynchburg unifies us as a whole. No matter what background we come from, what differences we have, and what experience we've experienced through our lives, it brings us all together and we have one goal, which is to win. As a photographer, I definitely get to capture the emotion and the feel and the atmosphere of what's going on during the games and what's happening in the crowd and with the fans. We have hugely dedicated fans here at Lynchburg. They come out whether it's rain, snow, sleet, windy, no matter what. Like, they will come out and support their team and cheer them on. They will sit through anything. It's just, it brings us all together as one.
Welcome back, halftime in the Hill City, but we are well past the halfway point of this season. It's down to the nitty-gritty now, and both of these teams trying to end their regular seasons on a high note. Though for Lynchburg, there will be another game. They're clinched a spot in the ODAC tournament, going to be back after a one-year hiatus last year. A team in Lynchburg that's already won 4 more games than it did a season ago. A chance to make it 5 in their home gym on senior night, but Averett giving them all they can handle. 34-32, your score at the break. Once again, Sam Graham, Evan Gates alongside you. Happy to be wrapping up this final day of the regular season and what's been a very fun basketball season. And we're going to touch on some of the other sports that are just beginning their seasons as well. And Evan, I think you and I both certainly looking forward to getting out and seeing some games on Schellenberger Field again as well. But breaking down the first half here from a statistical standpoint, Lynchburg shooting well from the floor. Averett slightly better. It's 44% for the Hornets, 48% for the Cougars. Lynchburg, a strong start from deep to open the game, but just 4 of 17 at the break. That's 23%. And the Hornets, though they've gotten to the line 9 times, that's 8 more than Averett. They are shooting just 44% at the stripe. Averett, 44% from beyond three-point range. We'll see if the Cougars place a little more emphasis there in the second half. Cougars also owning the rebounding advantage. That's something that Lynchburg over the last several games has done a good job of. So certainly a point of emphasis for Averett. Jason Sellers on his own is just 1 basket away from a double-double, 8 points, 10 rebounds at the break. Lynchburg assisting on just 4 of its 13 made baskets. Averett 6 of its 14. And turnovers, that's where Lynchburg really has its edge, 6-10. A big credit to this Lynchburg team. They've really shored up things in the turnover department as of late. Final big possession to keep note of, or stat I should say, points in the paint. That favors Averett as well at 20-16. But again, Evan, I think that's in large part due to Lynchburg's strong emphasis on the three-point line early on.
Well, and it's been like that all season long. We know that this Lynchburg squad is certainly capable of doing what they need to do to get it done. The question is, can they come into the second half and handle business? That has been a question that's been posed time and time again, not just for this men's squad, but what we've seen from the women's side as well. But Lynchburg is still looking loose. You think about those first 5 or 6 minutes, some different lineups out there, and now you have that bit of consistency. You're still up 2. I mean, Lynchburg coming into this game is 0-11 when trailing at the half, so you don't want to fall into dangerous territory. But we'll also go ahead and take a look at around the ODAC, some other games going on in men's basketball. Women's season also concludes today. And no surprises thus far. Hampton-Sydney handling business against Mary Washington 30-26. Lots of low-scoring affairs, lots of slower teams that you'll see with their play as you see the standings pop up on your screen. Randolph-Macon beating Washington and Lee 26-18. That's a rec league score through one half, but we do know that is a very big defensive affair. Guilford beating Bridgewater 33-23, and Virginia Wesleyan right down the road at Randolph winning 33-24 at the half. We'll see if any upsets start to emerge in the second.
Yeah, and we'll take this opportunity as well to break down sort of the scenario here for Lynchburg. We touched on it a little bit early on, but we'll try to make it as simple as possible for everyone at home. I know, Evan, you and I even, we're living this stuff pretty much every day. It's hard to keep track of. Lynchburg can go as high as the 9 seed. They're the 10 seed right now. To reach the 9 seed, they need to win, and they need Shenandoah to beat Ferrum. Now, if they rise up to the 9 seed, they would most likely play Shenandoah. That is assuming that Shenandoah gets that win and Roanoke also gets a win. If Shenandoah were to win and Roanoke were to lose, then Lynchburg would face Roanoke, who it would face if the season ended right now and did not count these second halves across the league. Roanoke, a team that's surging at the right time. They have just continued to climb up the D3 data efficiency ratings well up into the 40s now, and that's a team with a couple big wins, and there will be plenty of opportunity for it in the postseason that could potentially play itself into an at-large bid, and also a team, let's not count them out, of securing the ODAC's automatic bid either.
Well, Sam, you're making my head hurt, first off. We have so many situational. Let's just wait a few hours. We'll figure it out. Very good point, though, with Roanoke. You think about a team who has momentum at the right time, and they're dangerous already. But Lynchburg is a team that could come under the radar. I mean, you lose 7 straight. Let's say they even get the win today against Averett. they're still a team that's probably going to be overlooked based on the logistics of how the season has ended. And that is something that I think can play into the favor of the Hornets because they're such a good three-point shooting team. If you go out and you shoot the lights out, you use transition, you can be dangerous. But so many teams in this Old Dominion Athletic Conference that are not only trying to win at a conference level, but go and bring home a natty.
Yeah, and we will, you can't help but note, obviously you play whoever is on the schedule. Lynchburg had a tough time when they went on the road to Roanoke. Shenandoah, on the other hand, Lynchburg's defense really made the trip over to Winchester. Lynchburg got a 10-point win there, one of their marquee wins of this season. So that might be in the back of everyone's mind. Now, we mentioned spring sports getting firmly underway. We have just about every sport you could ever imagine playing a game, a match, a meet, a show, you name it today. We'll focus on the two that are going on in progress right now. That is Lynchburg men's lacrosse and Lynchburg softball, who have both gotten their seasons underway. Men's lacrosse at the half in Pennsylvania, taking on nationally ranked Gettysburg. That is a battle of two. The two teams tied for number 8 in this week's USILA poll. So I guess, I don't know, winner gets number 8, I'm not sure. But it is Gettysburg 7, Lynchburg 4 at the half. See if Lynchburg can get that offense rolling as they get into the third and fourth quarters. As for softball, Lynchburg already in the win column, a doubleheader with Methodist today, and the Hornets stole the first of those 2 games. They are into the bottom of the third in game 2, and Lynchburg holds a narrow 1-0 advantage. I think we've caught you up on everything that's happening outside of Turner Gymnasium, but rest assured, it's all about basketball for the next 20 minutes, and we'll go ahead and just stay right here because we're only about 20 seconds away from it. Wrapping up our statistical analysis from that first half, Jordan Parham, Jason Easton lead the way with 6 apiece for Lynchburg. It is 11 Lynchburg players that have reached the scoring column, but no one has made more than 2 field goals. On the other side, Averett is led by Bryce Shaw, scored the first 7 points of the game for Averett, got to the half with 9. Jason Sellers, 8 points to go with 10 rebounds. We're officially on double-double watch as he looks for his 16th of his career. And then, of course, the leading scorer on the back of a pair of threes, Jordan Lewis, has 6 points at the break. I think when you look at that at first, Evan, it sort of plays into about what you would expect. You know, this Averett team does have a lot of guys in terms of minutes that play some pretty solid time out on the floor. But when you look at the scoring distribution, it's those 3 guys, Sellers, Shaw, and Lewis. And those have been the 3 guys today. For Lynchburg, nobody averages over 10. And you look at all these guys that have scored between 2 and 6 points.
Well, and Averett going out with that lineup with those 3 guys. But Miles Taylor wants us to forget about that, just misses the jump shot. But you talk about Sellers, also 3 assists. One of those guys where down low, he just really grounds this offense, kind of like a Cam O'Connor on this Lynchburg team, where if you can distribute through him down low and let him make his cuts, you're going to have some open opportunities.
Taylor, so smooth, just leaves it a little bit off the mark on the last attempt. Now comes Lynchburg back on defense, and hey, how about Matt Johnson back in the game to start this second half? He does get beat defensively on the first possession here. And watch out, folks, we got a tie ball game, 34 apiece. Might as well stay glued to your television because we may go down to the wire here. 2 teams, Averett in particular, really looking like they want it. Team, again, that's eliminated from postseason conversation, still want to end the year on a high note. Jordan Parham would like to end his career in Turner Gymnasium on a high note as well. He's out to 9 points.
Number 0 had 0 doubt about that one, and we've seen when he gets going, he's tough to stop. And maybe a little bit of zone defense here from the Hornets.
Yeah, bringing in, looked like the 1-3-1, but it gets beat immediately. Lynchburg, especially in the second half, not afraid to go to that set, especially coming off of a made basket when they can really get themselves set up into it. And a defense they've had a lot of success with, really no matter who they're playing, especially at the point of attack. They do a great job making the primary ball handler a little bit uncomfortable. They did so on that last possession, but some acrobatics allowed for Shaw to get the ball out of his possession. Here's Kevon James looking for a 3. He got it. Back-to-back triples. Here come the Hornets. Back on top by 3.
This doesn't look like a squad who went 25% from three-point range in the first half. They're going to stay confident from wire to wire, and they're going to make sure that they take the shots when they're open.
Back to the 1-3-1. Obviously, a point of weakness with that defense is the corner, and then Shaw just beats Taylor to the basket. That pass errant, looking for Sellers. Here comes Sutton. Parham, spot, shot, off the mark. Taylor trying to tap it out, but a foul will go against Looks like it is against Miles Taylor, so assuming got him for the push-off there. Man, Parham, another one of those shots. You know, Lynchburg's had a few, Evan, where it just feels like this place is going to go ballistic if one of these drops.
Well, and they have a lot of those opportunities, just haven't gotten them to fall. But the advantage of having so many shooters out there is almost every possession you have somebody who has that chance to bring out the exclamation.
Back to the 1-3-1. Johnson, the closeout, able to alter the shot of Fitzgerald. Here comes James, trying to beat Lewis off the dribble. Going to go strong to the basket, and the help defense a second too late. Fitzgerald's block attempt was a futile attempt, and Kevon James has 5 points for Lynchburg out of the gates.
Exit stage left, KJ. That was a strong take.
Spoke with Kevon before this one got underway. He said, you know, the energy today is just a little bit different. Speaking with him and Kyle Haney, he said, I think I'm feeling like I'm going to have a good one today. Certainly looks to be poetic thus far. Kevon James, a fan favorite, a team favorite. When you talk about energy, vibes, all those intangibles, he brings it all to the table.
He's consistent, too, with his approach. I mean, obviously, it goes beyond the stat sheet. Every single game, he's just ready to go out and wear out the hardwood.
That time, the screen allows for some space. James unable to fight through it. Capable on-ball defender is James, but was unable to get over and contest that shot from Jordan Lewis, is now the three primary scorers for this Averett team, starting to stack up the points. 12 for Shaw, 10 for Sellers, 8 for Lewis.
Seen this line offense from the Hornets as Sutton off the mark from 3, and they're really just trying to get some isolation for guys who can take the mid-range. We've seen Miles Taylor get it a lot this season if he can get those openings, but it's all about timing and those screens.
Hornets starting to wear off the paint on the front end of the rim. Everything's been missing short when it misses today, other than a few that have rattled out. Here comes Shaw, a 3. And then a battle for the rebound. Johnson was unable to get two firm hands on it, bounced it off Taylor's head and out of bounds. A break for the Cougars, who once again trail by 3. They have never led in this game. They have tied things up quite a few times. We've had 5 ties in this game. Lynchburg's just been unable to pull away.
Well, that overtime victory for the Hornets against Averett was exactly a month ago to the day. 54 points in the paint from Lynchburg, and we've seen just a variety of ways to get it done today, but obviously still at 42 points. Much lower scoring affair.
Foul on the shot attempt for Sellers. Looks like they're going to give it before the shot, so just foul on the floor. Quickly, 3 fouls going against the Hornets. Did not see many whistles in the first half. Hornets have 3 to Averett's 0 through about 4 minutes, and Averett makes them pay. They just keep that possession going, and at the end of it all, it's 2 points for the visitors. Jamison Graves gets on the board with a pair.
The hometown kid looking cool and crisp on the release, and Averett just slowly trying to stay in it and wear out the energy here in Turner.
Evan, you talk about the last time these two teams met a month ago to the day. That was Lynchburg's last win. For Averett, you go back a little bit further than that. Two teams that we mentioned have had a rough go of it, a rough new calendar year. But again, trying to end on a high note. That's all you can do on this afternoon. Kevon James, we said poetic. It feels that way. KJ3 making things happen.
Speedy to the hoop. He had a little extra spin off the glass, and we've seen that from Dre Ross a few times this year too. Got a lot of guys who, when they can get to the bucket, they're going to make sure that they get the easy ones.
Kevon James, Jordan Parham, Landon Sutton, and Matt Johnson getting their run here on this senior day. But they're getting themselves a battle from these Averett Cougars. Again, a team that we knew could play Lynchburg tight. That's exactly what they've done thus far. A 1-point game as Landon Sutton draws the first foul of the half against Averett. It's going to go against Graves. Graves a quiet 8 points in this game.
That's a smart play from Sutton too, just seeing that isolation, getting down the court. We talked about it earlier in this game. Sometimes if you exploit that one-on-one, you can take it and get to the free throw line. Sutton, a good free throw shooter once again off the mark today. Just a few struggles from the stripe.
That makes it 4 of 10 at the free throw line here for Lynchburg. Landon Sutton, you mentioned in particular, he's still looking to get his first one to drop. He will do so on his 4th attempt. 1 for 4 for Sutton, 5 for 11 for this Lynchburg team. It's one of those things when this team comes on the road in Averett, see what the records tell you. It makes Lynchburg the favorite in this game. When you talk about trying to play spoiler, you don't want to do the visiting team any favors by not being able to knock down your free throws, as Averett just captured its first lead of the day. That comes off the back of the three-pointer dropping in for Averett's number 20, Jim Lowrance. Again, missed last game against Shenandoah, but he's knocked some rust off, made a couple of baskets here this afternoon.
Timely buckets for Averett. How about a timely bucket for JP, getting down and dirty, doing the hard work.
Yeah, and I love Parham and Kevon James both not being afraid to attack and get into the paint. Some of these smaller guards here for Lynchburg not being able to put it, afraid to put it on the floor. Obviously, they're each known for their three-point acumen, giving Lynchburg an extra dimension on the offensive end. Jake Hart slides down into the scorer's table and sliding into the basket, but wanting the call and not getting it came Graves. Quickly the other way, Parham buries another one. That's 3 from three-point range. Jake Hart loves it. The Lynchburg faithful love it. Lynchburg by 4.
Those are daggers for the Cougars too. Another one of those swings. It's a 5-point one. If Graves was able to get the call or maybe get to the line, and now it's starting to spill over. Lynchburg going to take possession.
Elijah Thomas bouncing up and down. Elijah Davis jumping up and down. Get your trampolines out. The energy's hopping in Turner Gymnasium.
A single thread is unique. Like each of us, full of purpose and potential. A strand designed to connect, strengthen, and unite. But we face different challenges and have different opportunities. By acknowledging that others may struggle in ways we do not, we can celebrate our different.
Well, runs don't come often, and when you get them, you got to capitalize. Lynchburg has tried to do it all season long when the energy is loud and proud in Turner Gymnasium. They are looking good now despite just having a 4-point lead. It seems like it's been a really good swing last couple of minutes. Now you got to make sure you show it on the scoreboard.
Lynchburg may have lost its last 5 at home, but make no mistake, this is not a place you want to play as a visiting team. I think anybody from Guilford to Washington and Lee would tell you it is not a fun time to play in Turner Gymnasium. Lynchburg off the mark there as they tried to push this lead out to 7 points. The largest of the day for Lynchburg is 8. That came in the first half. After that point, Averett tightened it up, and it's been back and forth. Trying to do so again. Averett has matched every run Lynchburg's given to it. And now heating up comes Lowrance. He's put in a pair of threes. That's not a guy you want to get going for the visitors, although you really don't want to get anybody going for the visiting team, right? But Lowrance, 34% from 3. Averages just 3.5 points on the year. He is well over that, 8 points now in the game.
It's turning into a shootout now, and not what we expected coming out of the break. Lynchburg getting to the hoop often as KJ just off the mark. And now Averett, once again, chance to take the lead.
One and done again. Sellers ends that last possession. He has clinched that double-double, 10 points, 13 rebounds, and counting. Keep an eye on that. This one progresses, driving to the basket again, and Averett vaults itself back into the lead. Jordan Lewis starting to find his self on the offensive side, and Averett has its second lead change of the day.
Right into the breadbasket. He made that one look a lot easier than it really is to execute, and just staying true, going to the bucket, not trying to shift over too much. Now a chance to add an extra one.
Lynchburg takes out some firepower and sends some more back in. Parham to the bench. DeAndre Ross back to the floor. I've not seen a ton of Ross today, but you know he can catch fire and go off in a hurry. Made some nice moves in the first half. Lynchburg, a team that's looking for that burst. Just want to see who's going to give it to them. Largest lead of the afternoon at 2 for Averett.
And you know the Cougars aren't going to go away in this contest either. We talked about it. This is the climax now with your last game of the season as Ross gets a foot on the line. But from now until the final buzzer sounds, you know Averett wants to steal this one.
You got to be careful when you're driving those sidelines near or far. So there's not a lot of space to work with there. So you get yourself around the perimeter and into the corner. And DeAndre Ross, one toe out of line. It's going the other way. Averett can push to its largest lead of the day with any basket on this possession. Backing down goes Sellers. He's guarded by Lynchburg's two premier defenders, and he makes them eat that shot. Jason Sellers up to 12 points. 13 rebounds to go with it. Faust, a 17% three-point shooter, off the mark on that one. Young, the offensive rebound. Lynchburg doing a good job on the boards as this game progresses, and Pearson Young reaches the scoreboard for the first time.
Well, staying versatile throughout this contest. Lots of different ways to score the bucket. Lynchburg, a team who shot 57 three-pointers between their last two games, and they still seem pretty confident despite the results from those ones. Think about Pearson Young, too. He's one of those guys. He doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, but think about guarding maybe the best player in the conference, and Robert DeCibio. He's coming out. He's still been very active today. You like to see that from your sophomore.
It can be hard sometimes, you know, to get going on the offensive end when you're tasked night in and night out with guarding the best player on the opposing team, as Pearson Young often is. And the only time that's not going to happen is if it's Jonathan Faust taking over for him. And like you said, Evan, those are two guys that Lynchburg does rely on a little bit on the offensive side. When you look here now, a 2-point deficit. Lynchburg's still looking for that spark. You know, these two teams have gone back and forth. Neither team has really had the upper hand. There have been these moments, you know, when you talk about feeling the energy, feeling the momentum, where Lynchburg, it feels like, has been on the verge of exploding here, and it just hasn't happened yet.
Well, you got to empty the Turner Gymnasium energy out today, because it looks very likely that Lynchburg is on the road to that ODAC first round. And so this is the final moment for some of those seniors. You don't want it to go down to a final 2 or 3 points where you're trailing. You want to be able to put your stamp, put your handprint on that final scoreline. We'll see what they can do, because you don't want to wait till that final media timeout. You want to get it done a little bit earlier.
Hornets have gotten big contributions today from a pair of seniors. Jordan Parham and Kevon James lead the way when you talk about scoring. We'll see who else is able to step up as we make our way down the stretch. Typical starting five on the floor here for Lynchburg. This group has spent more time on the floor together than really any lineup Coach Scott has come up with. And they do go back to that 1-3-1. Faust at the point of attack. Dare say he plays his best basketball in this role. Another corner three. Averett's able to get there out of the 1-3-1 again. And then Ross is able to turn his way out of the jump ball. That's an upperclassman move from the junior transfer from Kentucky Christian. And he's able to draw the foul on the floor instead of the jump ball, which would have gone Averett's way.
That's a big one just for momentum, especially with Averett now only having 2 fouls in the half. You want those to start stacking up. But lots of energy, and as you mentioned with Faust at the top of that 1-3-1, I think it just allows him to use his full athleticism. We've talked about his length and how much he can get around. Well, when you're at the head of that defense, you know you can also get out and have some easy layups if you get steals.
And Evan, speaking of Ross, we knew coming into the year what he would give this Lynchburg team on the offensive side of the ball. But I think when you talk about those heads-up plays and the improved defense throughout this year, I think that's what really sets the table for a big-time senior year for number 2.
So much time, too. You know there are going to be different faces. As Jake Hart got his hand in it, it is going to be a jump ball. Jake Hart was almost going backwards to hold on to that.
I tell you what, you got to earn these jump balls this afternoon. Consistent late whistle on the jump balls, and you got to respect that because I think some officials, you know, will not hesitate to call those jump balls, and that can get a little bit tricky. But Jake Hart almost pleading with his eyes to the official as he's turned around just holding on to that ball. Now coming out of the inbound, they go straight to Sellers. That's a good play design, but maybe not so much when Jonathan Faust, the most athletic player when you talk about relative to size for this Lynchburg team, is defending him.
We saw some smiles from Lewis and Sellers after that one as Jake Hart finally comes away with one cleanly. But Averett could tell they almost snuck away with an easy one, but instead now the Hornets have a chance to extend their lead. Come back in the lead. Sorry, Sam.
No worries. Speaking of athleticism, Jake Hart, a guy, he can jump out of the gym a little bit himself. He jumps up to tap that ball away and then corrals it as well. The rare block and control move. Shout out Tim Duncan, one of the best at doing that. It's one thing to block a shot out of the way or deflect a pass out of bounds. It's a whole other thing if you can corral the ball in the same movement. Here's Pearson Young, strong to the rack. Knocks Graves out of his shoes and to the floor. Pearson Young, he's earned his 4 points.
Pearson, Mr. Powerful, showing a grown man's play and getting to the hoop, and he's just one of those guys, even if he's not getting points every possession, he wears you down throughout a contest, and you understand you're going to have to go a full 40 minutes, and they're not going to be easy ones against number 33.
Young guarding Shaw right now in the man-to-man for Lynchburg. He's been the hot hand today for Averett. Looks like Young got him there on the follow-through. It's going to be the 5th foul on Lynchburg this half, first against Pearson Young. No individuals really in foul trouble here for Lynchburg. But obviously Averett trending towards the bonus here with most of this, we'll say about half of this second half still to go. Cougars, this is just the 3rd and 4th free throws of the day. 2 of 3 at the moment. 67%. That outdoes what Lynchburg has done there, though they have been a little better in the second half. Second one up and good for Shaw. He is up to 14 points. He and Sellers in double figures, and one shot away from joining them are Graves and Lewis.
We've seen some contributors across the board for Lynchburg right now. Parham with 14 as Taylor tries to get the opening, and it's really next man up roll. You think about that in Odax.
Ross puts it on the floor, has his shot swatted away. Jason Sellers averaging about a block and a half per game. Quickly the other way comes Averett, and the Danville contingent on their feet. Averett stealing the show, up by 4, 8:44 to play on senior day, and then Miles Taylor bulls over his defender. It was Graves again. He's hit the deck on back-to-back possessions. The second time around, he draws the charge. Miles Taylor hit with the foul. That is his 4th, and now we do have some foul trouble for Lynchburg, and that's the 2nd offensive foul for MT, who's still looking for his first points.
Well, I'll tell you who wants to win. It's number 2, Jamison Graves. You get a really nice offensive play, able to redirect and get the layup, and then drawing a foul on one of the main contributors for Lynchburg's squad, and Miles Taylor sending him to the bench. So now is a time where if you're Averett, you want to take advantage of having some of those heavy hitters out of the game for Lynchburg, but we know it is, as we said, next man up.
Something about these two teams separated by just about an hour, down 29. Just put something special in the air. They went to overtime in the last meeting. As you said, a month ago to the day, Lynchburg came out victorious there. It's a game they had to fight their way back in to even force overtime. The lone extra innings contest for Lynchburg on the year. We're trending to go right down to the wire again today.
2-on-2 is going to be a big matchup to watch. Both of those guys very capable of propelling their team into a big position, but here's that transition from Dre Ross, just can't corral.
Ross unable to corral it, as you said, Evan, but is able to force it off of Averett to keep it to our right. It's been another big swing when you talk about those. Lynchburg will still get a possession here after the ambitious pass was just a little too far out of reach there for Dre Ross. So now a chance for Jake Hart and Lynchburg to inbound it from under their own basket. Do so with little drama. Ross kicks back out Easton. Lynchburg needs it. He delivers. Call him the pizza man knocking at your door. Jason Easton has Lynchburg within one.
Keep it baking, Jason Easton. He's been looking like the Jason Easton we know and love, and haven't seen a lot of those three-point opportunities today, but you're always going to get one or two.
Let us remind you, that's Jason with a Y. Just like old JT, Jason Tatum in Boston having an MVP-type season. Although, Evan, I know your guy Shea might have something to say about that.
Oh, NBA All-Star weekend. We'll see who wants to be the All-Star out here today.
Jake Hart the rebound. Here comes Lynchburg in transition. A heads-up play with his head turned as Sellers poked it out of bounds. The official says Averett ball at first, and the Lynchburg bench, I tell you what, Evan, they were not having that one. Everybody up on their feet. Michael Gray consoling Miles Taylor, trying to cool him back down.
That's the biggest one we've seen this season. I think it took until the final game in Turner Gymnasium, but I don't think there was a seat occupied after that one.
The energy will need to continue as we come down the home stretch. 7:25 to play in the 23-24 Swan Song. It's Averett, the visitors, trying to steal the show on the road. Lynchburg again inbounds from under its own basket. Hart, the trigger man. Easton, somebody lost track of him. That's the one you got to hit. They got him on the arm on the way down. Easton, 3+1.
Rest easy, Easton. He makes it every time he gets the ball, and he is in an empty space. Listen, I don't say this very often about players in the ODAC, but you give that guy a ball and it's open, I'm going to go maybe 80, 85, 90%. He's going to make sure that he clips the easy ones and one opportunity.
Jason Easton's up to 12. He looks to make it 13. Little too strong. Free throw woes continue, but that will not distract from what Easton has started to put together over the back nine of this season. Having a heck of a conclusion to his sophomore year. He's right in line with his seniors, trying to go out on a high note. Jake Hart strips it, looks to push. Pearson Young pulls up. Thought about the three, thinks better of it. That was probably the right call as Fitzgerald with a little more length gets in his face. Lynchburg patient to work it around. Ross on the floor goes strong to the basket. Foul whistled before the shot. Will go against Shaw. That's just his second. Again, nobody in foul trouble for the visitors. The only players with two are Lewis, Hodges, and Fitzgerald. We have hit our final media timeout. We will take it with them. A big turnaround there between our brief period of play as Lynchburg's Jason Easton knocking down the three in the corner. We got one more break, and then it's 7 minutes of uninterrupted basketball on LHSN.
Want to have some outdoor adventures while getting a degree at the same time? At the University of Lynchburg, we have an on-campus zip line and rope course. Plus, we offer adventure trips that cost less than a cup of coffee. And did I mention our beautiful scenery? We're a university for students looking for something more than just books. Welcome to your new adventure experience.
Big opportunities left, right, all over. And guess what, folks? We have another game right after this one. Senior night part one between Averett and Lynchburg. The Hornets holding on with a 2-point lead. And in the last 7 minutes, obviously, lots of the circumstances will unfold in these next couple of hours with the ODAC tournament. But you just want to roll into it feeling good if you're Lynchburg.
Spoke to DeAndre Ross, Evan. He said coach has really been harping on cleaning things up in these second halves. So Lynchburg, a team that can hang with anybody for the first half. Well, here's your proving ground, everybody. Second half, 2-point game. Who's going to want it more and who's going to come out on top? Jake Hart, the putback, puts people back on their feet, and Lynchburg back out to a 4-point lead.
Mr. Heart and Soul, he gets it done left and right. And think about this. Jake Hart is not a guy who's out there for scoring. But there have been games in these last couple of stretches where he just really proves to be the guy during the moments who's going to deliver, and it is really a big role as the point guard.
Rebounds well for his size, 5 points, 4 boards, an assist, and a steal is the stat line for Jake Hart. He and Sayre Brandstad are really those stat stuffers for their respective Lynchburg teams. Pearson Young, there's an assist for Jake Hart, and Young has his first 3 of the game. Lynchburg has its largest lead of the second half at 7.
Pearson, the painter, decorating every spot of the glass and an easy 3. And Lynchburg can sort of taste blood now. 7-point lead, trying to hold on against Averett.
Blood in the water. Lynchburg back up by 7. Largest lead of the day was 8. That came in the first half. This is a Lynchburg team. Like we said, it's a proving ground here in this second half. What are you made of? You know, the goal is to get better as the year goes along, and I think in a lot of areas this Lynchburg team has, when you talk about turnovers, you talk about rebounding, and a team that looks about to be the most cohesive it has all year in some of these last several games, but some of these second half, woes have led to Lynchburg not being able to steal some of those wins that they were so close to picking up. And you think about what would have been big-time wins, Washington and Lee, Guilford. I mean, these huge wins that could potentially change your season. This is another one of those games. I know Averett maybe doesn't have the resume as a Guilford, as a Randolph-Macon coming into this game, but this is a must-win for Lynchburg. The difference in an 8-game losing streak and a 1-game winning streak, if you decide one game is a streak, it makes a big difference, I think, going into the postseason.
Well, morale is huge, and as you said, some of those games like Guilford, if you think about the schedule being a little bit different where you don't get those teams now, might have a few more wins on your schedule, but it's certainly showing Lynchburg that they can hang with some of those top contenders.
Hart, the defender, going against Lewis, able to alter the shot, and a foul called. A jump ball called. Now the jump ball is starting to stack up. Mentioned a bit of a late whistle on the jump ball call. Another one goes the way of Lynchburg. Hornets ball leading by 7, looking for its largest lead of the day as the Hornets try to pull away at home on Senior Day.
It's got to be patient offense now, too. Just understand you can use the shot clock. You don't need transition looks, but you got to stay true to your identity.
Faust loses his man. Great pass from Jason Easton, but the foul was on the floor, and it's just the 6th against the Cougars. Next foul, either way, will put us in the bonus. Both teams have given out 6 fouls. And credit to Lynchburg, making that a little more even. Starting to go back down low some, other than Jason Easton getting his hand caught on the three-pointer in the corner, because that was a 4-0 foul disparity early in this second half. Again, now it's 6-6, and that will be huge over the last 5 minutes.
I'd almost argue that it plays to Averett's advantage slowing the game down, but you still have your moments. You just got to take them. James almost able to make it a 10-point lead.
Crowd holding their breath on that shot once again, but another one that you feel like could be one of those dagger-type shots doesn't drop for Lynchburg. Can Averett take advantage? They're going to get a second chance to, and they'll reset with Lewis up high. Mentioned Lynchburg over this 7-game losing streak had not scored more than 63 points in any of those games. Well, against a slower-paced team in Averett, Hornets already out to 65 with 4:42 remaining.
Certainly in a good spot for these final 5 minutes. Saw Jake Hart get the block on the other end, and he's not a stranger to blocking shots now. He had 2 last game against W&L, who's one of the taller teams in the conference. Might be taking a page out of Jonathan Faust's book, and hey, if you do it right before ODAX, that's certainly a welcome sight.
Hey, and Jake Hart had 8 points in the paint against a tall and long Washington Lee team when those two teams met the first time. Yeah, he's one of those guards that, I mean, maybe not by size, screams I can play every position, and yeah, I might not start Jake Hart at my 5, but he's certainly a versatile player on both ends of the floor.
Something that Coach Scott tried to utilize Miles Taylor for last year was his ability to play almost every position on the floor. Granted, Taylor does have a little bit of a different frame that allows him to do so, but that mentality spreads across your bench. We know that Jake Hart has 3 more years in a Hornets uniform. He's going to use it wisely.
Lawrence trying to draw the 5th foul that would disqualify Miles Taylor there. Whistle does not come. Taylor again still looking for his first points. Good save by Jonathan Faust, crashing into the Hornet cheer squad in doing so. Turn, shot, Hart down low, gets the rattle around, and the shot will drop. Jake Hart, 7 points. Lynchburg, its largest lead is 9.
Dare I say the postman, maybe? Bring out the mail. Even if it's Saturday, Jake Hart can get it done everywhere.
Cougars look to answer. Pivotal point in the game for an Averett team that's responded to every Lynchburg blow. Pearson Young picks the pocket, going strong to the basket, gets met at the rim by Shaw. It's only Shaw's 3rd foul of the game, but it will send Pearson Young to the line to shoot 2, where he's right at 70% on the year.
I love that decision from Pearson. He had Faust a little bit behind him. He didn't try to make life too difficult. Just go up, draw the foul, get the easy ones. And now you, again, slow down the clock, which Averett, you know, they're going to have 3.5 minutes to use it. But I think that Lynchburg, with the style of play they've had and this momentum, they're not afraid to use it to their advantage.
And we are flying through this game, Evan. Just 3:31 to play. We've only been going not even an hour and a half yet. Started a little late with the Senior Day festivities, but only 4 free throws taken by Averett, and those are just the 13th and 14th for Lynchburg. Credit to Pearson Young, making them both. Hornets up to 50% at the line. And that might not scream efficient to you, but obviously they were well below 50% at the half. Now up to 7 of 14.
See this Averett offense starting on the elbows, trying to get those curls out for 3-pointers, but Lynchburg shutting every door possible.
Lynchburg back to man, holding an 11-point lead. Tough shot off the spin. Battle for the possession, and it will point Averett's way this time. Tell you what, jump balls racking and stacking. Back and forth, that possession arrow flips. 3:04 to go. These two teams both want it badly. We will take one more break and have the dramatic conclusion for you on the other side of this break. The conclusion is on tap now for us. Lynchburg out to an 11-point advantage. That is their largest of the day. So they've put together a very good last 10 minutes or so. Jason Easton's had a big hand in that. But Kevon James, Jordan Parham looking to go out strong on their senior days. They're both in double figures as well, and a quiet 11 for Pearson Young as well.
Two guys who last season had a really big contribution, and they've had their moments this season, but with a bigger roster, little less playing time. But you think about what they've been able to accomplish. We mentioned Parham's 28 points versus Hampton Sydney. James 6 starts last year, so they're taking advantage of the moments they get.
Kevon James took out in the 40-yard dash there to try and pick that ball off, make it a pick six. Jason Easton tries to get it to him, and it rolls over the leg of Kevon James, who I believe was maybe had his arm across the out-of-bounds line. So it'll be Averett ball. Cougars having a little trouble on this possession, staying out of harm's way when it comes to Lynchburg. And both teams, I guess it's use it or lose it when it comes to the timeouts. Can't take them with the end of the postseason if you're Lynchburg, so you might as well make sure everything's right and tidy here for the end of this one. But Evan, when you talk about Averett, 2:50 to go here. A team, it's been a tough year, 4-20 coming into today. But again, you know, just ending that season on a high note can go a long way. What do they need to look to try and do over these final 2:50 to overcome an 11-point deficit on the road?
Well, lucky for them, their style of play sort of suits them up for these situations where you can slow it down and use the shot clock. We know that Lynchburg has just really gained momentum through getting open looks. They've had a few looks to get to the glass, and then the three-point possessions have presented opportunities. But I think for Averett, it's relying on that three-headed monster that we've talked about. Shaw and Sellers and Lewis. We've seen what Graves has been able to get done today, but time is limited. You have to play almost perfect defense and just really utilize it. But both teams in the bonus too, so don't be afraid to send Lynchburg to the free throw line and make them earn it.
These two teams may delay the pregame shoot-around for the Lynchburg women's team, set to take on Virginia Wesleyan once this one wraps up. Give you a quick update on those other two games in progress for Lynchburg athletics. Hornets have cut it down to just a 3-point deficit against Gettysburg in men's lacrosse. And for softball, top of the 6th in game 2 of 2. Lynchburg trying to make it a sweep against Methodist. They lead 3-1. Here comes Averett. Third time's the charm on this possession as Lewis got a decent looking shot off there that almost went down for him. The desperation heave at the end of the small timer.
2 seconds were left, and that's such a tough situation when you're coming out of a timeout just to draw up a play for that, but it's about as good of a look as you're going to get if you're Averett.
The official goes ahead and lets Dell the Hornet put that ball back in play. Nah, sorry, Dell. Not an official.
Close
but
enough.
Nice try. Yeah, sporting that 23. Nice Jordan number there.
See, they both have etiquette, different uniforms they got to wear, just in very different ways.
Jake Hart had to be careful there to avoid the backcourt violation. Trap far away from the basket as this Averett defense has to tighten up, especially after being unable to get a basket on the last possession. Pearson Young looking for a big one, and it just rimmed out. They go back to him, scoop and score underneath and back over the top. Pearson Young's up to lucky number 13.
Reverse layup just looked smooth with that right hand, and great work not giving up on that play after the missed shot.
Lewis and Averett, desperation mode. Off the leg, kickball violation against Pearson Young, but it's a 13-point advantage for a Lynchburg team that has taken flight down the stretch in this second half. And although, obviously, if you're a coach, and Coach Scott probably said something similar, you probably wanted to be up by more than 2 at the half. You got to be happy with seeing the growth your team has shown to put something together and pull away down the stretch today.
Well, we know 40 minutes wins a basketball game, right? But that second half has just felt a little more important for Lynchburg in this losing streak and why they have had the L in some of those contests. And so going into the ODAC tournament and that opening game, you just have to be ready to have energy the entire way. Stay true to your style.
Off the leg of Averett and out of bounds. Unless they reverse this call, Pearson Young's pleading his case, but everybody's staying on this end of the court, so it looks like last touched by Lynchburg. Ramazani was the ball handler there. Looked like he just lost control of it, but they'll say poked away by Lynchburg. 144, a reset under their own basket. Here comes Averett. Trigger man is Clay Hodges.
Pearson Young again, defense on display, and here we go.
Easton off the backboard. Faust slams it down. That's your dagger. That's your highlight. Jonathan Faust touches the rafters.
Folks, get out of your seats, everybody, and Turner turning the energy a little bit higher on senior day.
Hornets tried to go to that one in transition in the first half. Dare say they might have been working on that one in practice. I think they waited to pull it out in the perfect time for these fans. Averett nearly turn it over again. Now they will. Skying to get it was Faust. Here's Pearson Young. He'll let everything set up. James, 3. Not good. Just about put it there. Just about stuck it. What a moment that would have been for him. I'm sure he will stay on the floor as a standing ovation goes to the Hornet players coming off the court, but maybe just as much for those checking back in. It appears as though it's going to be another senior lineup to close out the last 55 seconds here. But you talk about holding your cards and pulling them out at the perfect time. How about the off-the-backboard lob to Jonathan Faust?
Well, 3 words, defense to offense. We've seen it a lot this season, maybe not as big as that one. I think you have to rehearse it a few times too. I mean, you got a guy like Faust in your lineup. I'm sure after practice a few times you're saying, yeah, maybe we'll go to that one in the game. And when it mattered, it sure brought the house down.
Evan, we do our best to not max out the levels here. I think we might have done it on that last lob, but, you know, you got to pick your spots, right? I think that was a worthy one. Sutton, Taylor, Matt Johnson, Jordan Parham, Kevon James. 5 seniors, 5 guys that have given their all for this program, fought through a lot of adversity over the last 2 years. They're going to close out the regular season here. Sutton goes down to the floor but draws the foul. Landon Sutton, the senior, out of High Point Christian Academy. High Point, North Carolina.
He's a guy who's played point guard a decent amount for this Lynchburg team too. You think about before the arrival of Jake Hart, there were so many guys who were in that role, and Sutton has just really expanded his game and being able to be a facilitator.
Good shot package for Landon Sutton as well. Gives Lynchburg some really good minutes when Jake Hart is not on the floor. Picks up 2 easy ones at the line. It's now a 17-point lead for Lynchburg. This is likely the final possession of the day for Averett. Kevon James tried to strip it away. Now Taylor does. Here comes James to the basket. Finishes right through the rim. A slam dunk for Kevon James. Have yourself a career. KJ Kevon James, they don't script it any better than this. He's got a season high and a team high 14 to lead the way for Lynchburg.
KJ high fives all around. Can you believe it, folks? The seniors showing a little bit of what they can do. They've had it in the package the whole season. You wait till the last 5 minutes, and then everybody said now's the time.
Wide smiles on everybody's face. The shot clock turned off. Lynchburg is going to earn its 6th ODAC win of the season. They will finish the regular slate out on a high note, end the losing streak where it stands. They will give up the foul there, which will send Averett to the line, extend this game a little bit, much to the chagrin of the Virginia Wesleyan and Lynchburg women's teams, who are anxious to get out there and get their pregame shoot-around going.
Sam, how is this supposed to be a prelim? Because I think we have had about all the energy in the world. A little bit of a lane violation. We'll redo it. I don't know how you can top this one after the next game.
Well, let's just remember it's a senior day for this women's team as well. And they're a team, when you talk about squads that are trending the right way at the right time, you can certainly say that for this women's team. Fitting that Miles Taylor dribbles this one out. He's led the team in scoring this season. Did not reach the scoreboard, I should say, today, but you can't second guess his impact. Lynchburg gets the win. It was close for a long time. They pull away at the end and make it 19, 77-58. Lynchburg wins it.
Not all W's are created equally, folks. And after a 7-game losing streak, obviously Averett ending things on a 10-game losing streak. 2 teams who wanted it so badly, and Lynchburg just needed one before that ODAC tournament, needed a morale booster, and it doesn't always come on the scoreboard. I mean, look at the final of this one, 77-58. I mean, this game for about 30, 35 minutes was so much closer, but it just shows the heart that the Hornets have. Can they bring it in that next game or 2? That's going to be the big test.
We were looking for this version of the Lynchburg offense to put it together once again. And obviously they've had higher, final outputs, 103, a couple of 99-point games, but 77 feels more like 90 here tonight when you talk about the energy and the vibes inside of this gymnasium. Quite a few seniors lead the way tonight for Lynchburg. Jordan Parham, Kevon James, they're both in double figures for the Hornets, who get a big win to close out the regular season. They will be on to the ODAC tournament as either the 9 or 10 seed. That does mean they will play in the first round to try and earn their way into the quarterfinals to be played at the Salem Civic Center. Evan, in your neck of the woods. We'll have to try and get out there for as many games as we can for what should be a fantastic tournament. But again, Lynchburg will travel either to Roanoke or Salem more specifically to play Roanoke. They could go to Winchester to play Shenandoah, or they could go to Virginia Beach to take on Virginia Wesleyan. We'll just have to wait and see. But again, another senior day on tap here today as the Lynchburg women get set to take on Virginia Wesleyan and close out their season on a high note as well. Evan, I'll give you your final word for this final home win of the 2023-24 campaign.
Well, goodness, listen, this is just one of those games where it felt so close. Such a big one to take away. We talked about what it meant to get a win here today, but the question now, and, you know, again, we talked about energy a little bit. We got a second game after this. I mean, if it was that packed for this men's game and we got another senior night, I mean, goodness gracious, I feel bad for the Turner Walls after this one. They've taken a beating, but Lynchburg all season, it's been high and low, lots of energy, lots of aggression, and the scoreline hasn't always showed it, but they are here now. They're in a position to where they are in the postseason. It's just your moment. You got to go with it.
That has been the last 2 seasons, some up and down, but it's all up after a big win here tonight. Lynchburg wins it. We'll tell you the final score one more time for the last time from Turner Gymnasium for this men's basketball team. I'm Sam Graham. That is Evan Gates as Lynchburg wins it 77-58.